Perfect. Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Now we're going. All right, guys. Welcome to Monday Night Sales Call. Start dropping all the objections, anything you guys are running into, any troubles you're having out there. Make sure you drop that into the Q&A chat, so that way we can go through that tonight. Kind of what I wanted to go over. One of the big things was just a short elevator pitch. I want to make sure everybody's kind of got a good idea on what that short 5-minute elevator pitch looks like. And then I want to talk about, what our vision is and, going forward. If anybody was paying attention to Telegram yesterday, Bobby dropped in a couple different articles that he published yesterday, the path to 80 and then the path to 800. And so tonight, I kind of want to go through that and explain how I talk about the future, phase two, because we get a lot of people that, when we start talking about $16 by February, they go, okay, well, what's going to happen after that? Is the market going to crash? Is there really anything going to happen after $16? And so I want to make sure that everybody kind of has a good idea and a good story for what the future is going to look like, right? And why we're going to go beyond 16 and continue towards that $800, $1,000, $2,000 goal someday. And so it looks like everybody can hear me just fine. I keep getting a bunch of raised hands. But yeah, if you have questions, if you have anything that you want to talk about specifically tonight, drop it into the Q&A chat, so that way I can go over that too. But real quick, what I want to start with is just like my quick, short elevator pitch, right? And this is what you do to capture that attention, to really give and inform somebody, what TEXITcoin really is. And so I always start out with, we're a Bitcoin do-over, right? We're the American-made blockchain. We're doing the job that Bitcoin was originally designed for, but is no longer doing. The biggest problem with the cryptocurrency world out there right now is 95% of cryptos are meme coins or worthless, right? There's no point to them. They're made out of thin air, and they're the pump and dumps. Those are the scams. And so the other 5%, or the actual coins out there that actually do something, we have Bitcoin, a lot of those top 10 coins out there, top 20, that actually serve a purpose, but they do a lot of different jobs. The main problem with Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrencies out there is they're all controlled by China, and the same institutions, the same banks that Bitcoin was set out to disrupt, right? And so the reason why China controls all the mineable cryptocurrencies out there, and stakeable ones, proof of stake coins, is because they make the chips for the machines, but then also 60% of all crypto activity is over in Asia, right? And so, you hear things out there in the news and different things that, Trump wants to make America the crypto capital of the world. Well, we're the only American-made blockchain, right? We're the only one because we have a geographical limitation that keeps our mining infrastructure and our network secured and located in Texas. And that's a big thing. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us different than everybody else out there. The other thing is our job is to be a peer-to-peer payment system, exactly what Bitcoin was created for, right? But it's no longer doing that job because the same bigwigs out there, the same or the smartest people and the billionaires of the world that talk about Bitcoin are the same people that say that Bitcoin is just digital gold, right? It's perfect. They say it's perfect money, but it's just digital gold. If you go listen to any of those interviews of the Michael Saylors, the Brian Armstrongs, any of the big Bitcoin people out there, they say it's just digital gold. And what do? They hoard it, right? They're not out there spending it. You're not going down the street and buying a cup of coffee with it. Even though places take it, it's too expensive to transact, right? And it's super, super slow. It takes forever. And so, that's the whole point with TEXITcoin is it's very, very cheap to use. It's very inexpensive to do transactions, and it's very, very quick, right? You can move money very quickly with TEXITcoin. And so the whole point of it, right, is that geographical limitation that we're located in Texas. We are the American-made blockchain, and that's what makes us different. We're starting the same way that Bitcoin did, right? And we're spreading this by word of mouth. And with that, that's when I'd go into showing the numbers and the proof, right? So we've got 30,000 miners now with us. We're going to be cracking 30,000 miners probably today or tomorrow. We're 29,800 and some last I looked. We brought in over $72 million into this project, right? We've been around for 77 weeks now, right? So we have a long track record. It's over a year. That's a year and a half. And so that's kind of my short elevator pitch to now grab attention, bring people in. And with that, you do need to explain a little bit about the opportunity. There's a million seats on the rocket ship, right? That's what makes us, kind of unique as well. Unlike Bitcoin, you can't just keep having people build more and more mining systems out there. Nobody can mine our coins, right? There's only a million spots available, and those million people, those million spots are going to reap all the rewards. And then after that million seats closed, again, our projection is February. By the end of February, the only place you can get TEXITcoin is to go to the open market, right? And so what type of person would you like to be? Would you like to get the day-to-day payout from the mining rewards every day for the next 135 years? Or would you rather pick up a handful of coins and hope the price goes up and then sell them one day, right? Most people are going to respond to that very, very well. They're going to want that daily payout, right? Because it's consistent. There's no work to it. It's very, very easy. And, you don't have to do anything but put your cash in. It's a one-time fee. And if you're not telling people it's a one-time fee, it's very important that you need to do that when you're talking with people. Because that one-time fee, especially when you've told them or they think this is a multi-level marketing or something like that, like there's nothing else out there in the network marketing space that's like a one-time fee for the most part, right? So make sure you explain it's a one-time fee and that's it. But yeah, I mean, that's my short little introduction slash elevator pitch to kind of grab attention and then dig into TEXITcoin a little bit from there or start pulling out questions from these people, right? When you're doing sales, when you're in sales, you've got like three types of responses that you're going to get whenever you're talking with somebody. You get objection, right, is one response. You have probing questions, where probing questions are, they're asking about, well, with TEXITcoin, what's its utility, right? If you get that question, that's a probing question. And then your third response that you get is a buying question, and the buying question is, well, how much does it cost? How do I get involved? Stuff like that. And so what you want to do is when you're talking with people, you want to make sure that you're getting one of those three responses. You're getting an objection, a probing question, or a buying question. You want to identify what response you're getting, right? And with the objections, you want to tailor it to where you're only getting the objections. You only want to ask the questions, right, that get you the objections that you want to handle. You don't want to start going off on a tangent and explaining crypto and hash rate and the script algorithm that we run on and stuff like this to somebody that doesn't understand, that much about crypto. Or you'll spend all night trying to get their head wrapped around how crypto works. And whenever you get down that road, you're almost going to lose that sale every time because we give people what I call over-analysis paralysis, right? You give them too many questions, too much stuff to think about. And you want to make this simple, right? You want to keep it very, very simple. Why would people want TEXITcoin? Well, it's the American-made blockchain, right? In phase 2, we're going to encourage people to build on top of our blockchain. Not only are we going to do our layer 2 stable coins, the downtown digital dollar and everything like that, but once we start that's going to show and that's going to be a proof of concept that people out there, if they want to build on top of a blockchain, the TEXITcoin blockchain is going to be the only American-made blockchain out there. And so, that's one thing that when we start doing that, that's also going to increase our value. So when we get into phase 2, what's adding and increasing our demand for TEXITcoin is not just one thing, right? Right now, our plan, what we talk about is the downtown digital dollar, releasing that stable coin in a layer 2 format where, like we take the city of McKinney, we put on a big event, we go down to local credit union, we put $5 million in the bank. The downtown digital dollar is then minted 1-to-1, right? So 5 million downtown digital dollars are going to be made for that city. And then we put on the big event. Everybody goes around, they pay with TEXITcoin, they do business. And then whenever they want to cash out, right, they can go down to the local credit union and then they can turn their crypto to cash. That's the vague plan on how that looks. And so the value that's going to add to the TEXITcoin blockchain and to MineGXE is, there's going to be like a 10% cash out fee. Bobby's went over and talked about there's going to be a few fees, and he breaks it down on what that looks like. And so, there's going to be incentives for people to hold their money into that downtown digital dollar and not cash out. But then also there's going to be a benefit to the credit unions and then the community by earning interest off that money that's placed with that credit union too. So he's built a situation, he's built a system to where everybody's going to win from this. That's why they're going to do it. Like this is it's a very well thought out plan to where from the mining side, from us TEXITcoin miners, we're going to benefit from the credit union, the local credit unions that's going to hold the money. They're going to benefit. And then the local community people are going to benefit because they're not going to get ate away at 3% transaction fees with credit cards all day long. And so he's produced a win-win-win situation to where there's no reason why these cities and these city officials are not going to do that. They're begging us for this layer 2 system so that they can start running their events and everything and holding it with a local community currency, right? That's the best part about this thing. And so that's my favorite part. That's what's the most exciting to me, and we're not even there yet. Ryan just asked what initiates phase 2, and phase 2 starts once we have our mine built out, right? Now, our mine build out, Bobby said, is going to take the next 12 to 18 months, to get these all the mining infrastructure implemented and stuff like that. Well, we're going to roll out the downtown digital dollars quicker than that. But it's not going to be before we sell the last seat on the rocket ship, right? So if we sell the last seat on the rocket ship in February, that's still probably the target time going into next year, March, April, May, when we start rolling out phase 2, if everything goes to plan, right? We can't foresee the future, so we don't want to be out there telling people, hey, we're starting phase 2 next, in January, February, because we don't know exactly when we're starting that. We just know that that's starting as soon as we have all the mines sold out, right? And then we have our mine built out in multiple different locations, so that way we can handle these big events and all the multiple millions and millions of dollars transactions that's going to happen coming from that phase 2. And so, we have a few weeks ago, Bobby talked about we're the title sponsor of the Downtown Association event in April of next year. Somewhere around that time, I think, is when he's planning on doing the event for McKinney to kick off the downtown digital dollar, right? And so the most important thing is don't overpromise about the future, right? We tell them what we know. We don't know what the future holds, right? But we can tell them the plan. This is our idea. This is our plan. When exactly is that going to get started? We don't know. It's going to be whenever we sell out these seats, which could be sooner rather than later, or could be later rather than sooner. We don't know, right? But the way that our track record looks, the way that the numbers look week to week, month to month, our million seats, we're on track to be sold out by February for sure. And so, and you can see that on the dashboard. And that's the biggest thing about this when you're talking with people, because everybody's skeptical, right? Everybody's skeptical about crypto. Everybody's skeptical of scams, different things. Well, in your presentations, you should be pulling up that dashboard and going over every single thing on that dashboard and all that data. You should know what all that data is. because it's very, very important to explain the transparency through this. Uh, because that's what people want to know. You know, they want to know, well, you brought in $72 million. Where's it all went? Is Bobby just putting it in his pocket and going to run away at the end of this thing? No, right? We know that. We know because we can see that. And you need to be able to portray that to the people that you're talking to. And so I had somebody in the chat just last week that said they can't see any transparency. And if that's you, or if you don't know what that is, then you need to be following along. You need to be following along to our Tuesday night calls, because Bobby breaks it all down and shows us, from week to week, how we've gotten to where we are now. And so that dashboard website is all of the transparency, and it is getting revamped, and it is going to get better as time goes along. And so going over that graph where all the money comes in and where all the money goes is very important. Plus the hash rate on the mine. Our hash rate right now is dropped, and that's because we moved some mining equipment from McKinney to Mansfield, and we finally got the container set in Victoria and everything like that. We're just waiting for the power company to get that hooked up. So the Victoria the mining rig should be online, pretty much any day, coming up pretty soon. And then Bobby said last week, we got 2 more containers that just arrived at the port. Those already have homes. One's going to Mansfield, one's going to Houston. And then I think we have 4 more on order, which will be here in the next couple of months. Right? So that mining infrastructure is getting, taken care of. It is happening. It just takes time by the time you order it, to the time you receive it, to the time you get it implemented, drop the machines in and get it turned on. It takes time. But things will get faster and faster and faster as we bring 1, 2, 3 of these online, get them tested out, make sure everything's running properly and working and everything like that. And then the next 10, 15, 20 units, they'll start going quicker, quicker, and quicker, right? And so, and we've seen that with everything else that we've been doing. Once we test something out, and then to duplicate that, it happens quicker, quicker, and quicker. And so, that's one thing that I've had a lot of people been reaching out to me with helping them out with prospects and stuff like that. And some of the crypto people out there, they look at that mining hash power, that hash rate on our dashboard, and they say, well, why is it so low compared to the sold hash power? And that's something that you need to be able to explain, right? I've not had anybody not join us because of that. They just always ask those questions, right? Because why wouldn't you? If you're going to put in 9,000, 5,000, whatever of your hard-earned money, you're going to have questions. And so everybody needs to be able to explain that our mining power, as soon as we get Victoria online, these shipping containers, we add 3.3 million mega hash to our mine per container, right? Because they hold 200 ASICs. And so as Victoria gets turned on, our hash rate's going to go up tremendously. And then Mansfield's ready to go. The power's there. We just have to receive the unit and then drop the ASICs in, and we're ready to go. And so that should be happening, within the next 30 days or so for Mansfield. So right there, if we get Victoria and Mansfield online within the next 30 days, you're looking at about 6.6 million mega hash worth of power added to our mine. And that's going to bring us a lot closer to where we have our operating hash power, and our sold hash power is going to be very, very close, right? And then that's one thing that's going to be huge when you're out there telling people and you're able to show them that, like, hey, we're not just selling seats, we're actually implementing this equipment and getting it up and running and doing what we're saying we're going to do. And that's the one thing, Bobby's been talking about a couple Saturdays ago when he was in Tampa. His big speech was how we've gotten to where we are now, right? And it was the 3 things of authenticity, right? Following through on what we're going to say we're going to do, and the network marketing, right? Just the people out there telling people about it, bringing on, people into our program, crowdfunding this mine, and then following through what we're saying we're going to do, right? That's kind of the biggest thing. Because if we don't follow through on what we're going to do, then that's when bad things happen, right? That's where the fraud comes in. So just following through on what we're saying we're gonna do, and seeing that hash rate go up on that dashboard, that's huge, and that's what you need to be relaying to people when they start asking about that. And that's usually the crypto type of people. The crypto people, that's the kind of stuff that they ask. Right here I have EV. Hi Blake, I posted last week. PowerPoint wasn't attached. Didn't know how you found it. Can you post it, please, so I can help work on it for your final one? Choose from. Okay. So EV's talking about the PowerPoint. If you guys remember a couple of weeks ago, I posted a PowerPoint that I made, and when we have a contest to whoever can make the best PowerPoint pitch book presentation for TEXITcoin is going to get 250 TXC. And so that is in the objections and rebuttals chat. It's also in our networking and sales chat that you can find. Though you can find the one that I put in there, and then you can edit it, add to whatever you want to add to it, and whoever whoever we choose to use the official presentation for, or pitch book for TEXITcoin, is going to receive 250 TXC. And so I think I'm going to put an end date to that contest on October 1st. October 1st is when I get back from Thailand to DFW. And so that day I will post the winner. So far, I've got a lot of people that's posted their entries. And so EV, you've already posted your entry. You only get one entry for this contest. But yeah, if anybody wants to do that, I will repost that in our networking and sales chat so everybody can see that again. But I'll find that when I get off here, and I'll bring it back up to the bottom there so it's easily findable. Matthew says, please explain how our miner will be paid every day for the next 130 plus years. Okay, so when anybody joins on, right, they buy their seat for $1,000. That $1,000 gets them 100 mega hash in our 100 million mega hash mine, right? And so as the mining pool every day collects those coins, it gets evenly distributed out to every miner in the mining pool. And so everybody that has one seat gets the same amount of coins. Everybody that has 9 seats gets the same amount of coins, right? Every single day. And so those payouts are distributed at 7 p.m. at 7 p.m. Texas time every single day. And so as the blocks are made, we make a block every 3 minutes. Those coins that block releases just gets held into the mining pool. And then at the end of the day, those coins get evenly distributed across to everybody that owns seats on a rocket ship. And so, that's going to happen for the next 135 years because in crypto, we have what's called halvening. And so for TEXITcoin, I think the last I heard Bobby say was our first halvening is like in 5 years. And so if anybody knows like Bitcoin, I always relate everything back to Bitcoin for people because that's, the most common. Bitcoins have like 4, 5, 6 times. There's 21 million Bitcoins that's going to be in existence ever. There's no more, no less. Today, there's 20 million Bitcoins in circulation, and it's going to take the next 100 years to mine out the last 1 million, right? And that's because of halving. The halving, is the reason why we have halving is because that is what's built for long-term mining and honest trade. And so as the halving happens, the output to the miners go down, but the price of the coin goes up. And we've seen that with Bitcoin time and time and time again. As the rewards get cut in half, the price almost doubles, almost like clockwork every time it happens. And so the reason we're making about 95,000 coins a day right now. And then once we go through the first halving, we go down to 45,000, right? Or whatever that half is going to be, about 47,500 coins a day. And then the next halving, we're going to go down to 22,500 coins a day. And then the next halving drops it back down to 11, right? And so on and so forth. So every time we go through that cycle of halving, there's less and less coins going to be produced every day, which is going to take longer, longer, and longer to mine out our 353 million coin supply. If you look on CoinMarketCap or on our Block Explorer, the tokenomics, TEXITcoin is built to where we only have 353 some odd million TEXITcoins ever in existence, right? No more, no less. That's the total supply. And right now, today, we have like 45, 50 million coins in circulation today. So as that halving happens, that's what's going to take the 135 years to mine out all those 353 million coins, because we operate just like Litecoin, just like Bitcoin. And so we always talk about how we're similar to these other blockchains, how we're similar to these other cryptos, like Litecoin, we're a clone of Litecoin. Dogecoin is a mineable coin, and like Bitcoin and stuff. But we also have to highlight some of our differences as well, right? The whole reason why people are hoarding up Bitcoin and the price goes up on Bitcoin so dramatically is because it's all about scarcity, right? There's only 21 million Bitcoins in existence, and with that limited supply, is what keeps that price going up, because the demand is greater than that, right? And so, the thing with Bitcoin being so scarce is that's why it's never going to be used as money, right? It's never going to be used as a payment system because it's super expensive, but not everybody in the world is going to be able to own a Bitcoin, right? If there's only 21 million Bitcoins out there, there's 8 billion people on the planet, right? And so that supply and demand is going to keep Bitcoin going up and up and up forever, in theory. And, the problem with Litecoin has no leadership, but it's also the same problem as Bitcoin. All the mining infrastructure, everything is controlled by China, right? Same thing with Dogecoin and everything like that. But the difference with Dogecoin is there's no limited fixed supply. And that's very common with a lot of cryptos out there. They actually don't have a total fixed supply. As Dogecoin operates, it just keeps producing more and more and more and more coins in existence, right? It's just like our fiat system, right? When they turn on the money printer and they print more and more money, there's no fixed supply. That's what devalues our dollar, right? And they call it inflation. And so that's what, there's a lot of cryptos out there that do not have a fixed supply. And that's also what makes this kind of unique, right? We have a total cap fixed supply of 353 million. And, that's going to be enough to where we're not so scarce that you're not going to be able to get your hands on it. But TEXITcoin's probably never going to be that $150,000, $200,000 price per coin, right? We hope we see that someday. But we don't need that, right? We just get to, like Bobby says, we're building out a mine that's going to be 5% of Litecoin, Doge, and since we're a permission blockchain like XRP, he believes we can be 5% of all three of those. And if that's the case, that gets us to that over $2,000 price per coin, right? If we can take 5% of the market cap away from Litecoin, Doge, and XRP, if anybody watched that YouTube video where Bobby did that, the price breakdown of $2,800 a price with Mike Healy and Terry Tillert, that's available on YouTube. I recommend you go watch that because it gives you a lot of information on why he finds these or how he does the math to get to these price projections of $1,000 a coin, $2,000 a coin, and so on and so forth. And so, but you have to understand and you have to highlight the differences, what makes TEXITcoin so unique. And so we're very similar in a lot of the things that we do in our blockchain and the way it operates, a lot like these other ones, like Litecoin and Bitcoin and different things. But we also have a lot of differences with it, which makes us unique and desirable, right? And so the next one I got, anonymous attendee, can you go over the data with US so we get a full understanding to share with others? I'm not sure what you mean. Can you go over the data? Oh, go over the data with us so we get a full understanding. Okay. So when you say go over the data, you have the dashboard, right? When you all pull up the dashboard, the first graph that you see is the mining output, right? And there's 2 points of data on that. The red line shows the sold hash power, and then the green line, or when you highlight that, it actually shows you what our hash power is actually operating at, right? Which is substantially less than the sold hash power, right? And so that's why I was saying you have to be able to explain to people why that is. Why is our operating hash power so much lower than our sold hash power? Well, it's because we moved equipment, right? We have containers coming in. We have the machines. We have the L9s that we need to drop into these containers. The problem is just receiving the equipment, right? It takes time. And so that's why it's very important to show visuals. We can show the visual of the shipping container sitting in Victoria right now, ready to go. All we're waiting on right now is the power company to run the power, to do the work, and then we can flip that switch on. And so, like I said, that should be happening any day, and be able to see that directly on that graph of sold hash power and actual operating hash power. And that'll be a tremendous jump to that. And then once we have Mansfield going, that should put us really close to sold hash power and operating hash power. That gap should get a lot smaller. Bobby also mentioned we have two containers sitting at the port right now. One's going to Mansfield, the other one is going to Houston. And so, and then I think the next two, one's going to McKinney at some point. And so that when that happens, that'll be 4 of those containers, 3.3 million mega hash per unit operating. That's going to make our hash power, our operating hash power jump even above the sold hash power, unless we keep selling the seats as fast as we're doing right now. And so, once that graph gets a lot closer, it's going to look a lot better for us out there selling this. And then people, just making the decision to put their money in, once they see that we're following through on what we're saying that we're going to do, it's going to make it easier for them to make that decision. But you have to be able to go explain that. And that's why it's so important to follow along our Tuesday night calls now, because now we have Fast Eddie and Ron telling us week to week exactly what's going on with the mining operation and giving us updates. And so it's very, very important that you all are on there following along week to week. And those are recorded, so you can always go back and watch. But within the next 30 days or so, we should see a huge jump to our operating hash power, getting a lot closer to our sold hash power. The next graph of data, is, let me pull it up here. I don't know how to share my screen right now, so I'm not even going to attempt that in case I screw something up, because that's the last thing I want to do. The next graph of data is after the mining output, the mining graph, we have TXC shared, right? TXC shared is how many coins that we make every single day. And in crypto, like when we're making these blocks and everything, the dashboard actually shows, if we're making blocks faster than the previous block or slower than the previous block. And so it's not a perfect system to where you get the same exact output and make the blocks at the exact same time. It's always plus or minus a few seconds. And so that's why we have big days that on that graph that show that we paid out 98,000 TEXITcoins. And then there's smaller days where, we show where we paid out like 89,000, 88,000, 90,000 TEXITcoins, right? That graph goes up and down because, again, as we make these blocks every single day, every 3.5 minutes or so, at the end of that day, we have X amount of TXC, and that gets evenly distributed out to all the miners. And that's what that TXC shared graph shows. The next graph is average per miner. That's average TEXITcoin reward paid to the average mine system. So everybody in our program, right, owns different amounts of seats, right? Some people own 1, some people own 9, some people own 27 now, right? And so if the average per miner graph doesn't really mean a whole lot as far as when you're talking to people and selling people. It's just another data point that we have, but it's really not that important. It's nothing that I ever cover. It just shows today that we're sitting at about 3.92 TEXITcoins per miner that's in this, right? And right now we have 29,890 miners in our program, right? We're just about the 30,000. The most important chart, guys, is always the graph. The graph that shows exactly how much money that we brought in and where it all goes, right? And if you highlight those different sections, we brought in, it shows we brought in, well, where'd it go? Oh, I clicked it, 70 some million, 71, $72 million. The big blue graph is commissions, right? We paid $30 million in commissions. $30 million is not even close to 50% of that money brought in. And if you all remember, in the early days, Bobby always said the most important chart he looked at was revenue and commissions, because in order for this comp plan, in order for this to work, we cannot pay over 50% of the revenue brought in commissions, right? So that 50% number is very important. Today, we're not even close to that. Believe it or not, we used to be a lot closer to paying 50% commissions back in the day when we were a lot smaller, right? When we had less people in this and a lot less seats sold. Now that we've scaled and we've grown, and now we're doing bigger numbers today than we've ever had, that gap from commissions paid to revenue brought in gets larger and larger and larger, which is a good thing. That means our comp plan is completely healthy. We have no financial problems with this, and most importantly, with this project, we have no debt. Right? We've not brought on any capital. We've not taken loans, right? We are crowdsourcing or crowdfunding this project. And with that comes zero debt. And that's very important because our financial situation today is super, super healthy. That's why I'm sitting here on the beach in Wahan and we do these freedom field trips. And Bobby gives away Lamborghinis and Corvettes and all these cars, for the Game Over giveaway. It's because we have room in the comp plan, in the budget, to do bonuses and incentives, and to do fun things like this, right? Because again, our commission and revenue is we're not at 50%. So any of that space, any of that overage, Bobby does contests and bonuses and giveaways and different things, which is great. It's great for all of us to partake in that, to have something to strive for, and try to put a little extra TEXITcoin in our pockets before we get to our first and second goals, right? And so on that dashboard, the next chart that you see after the pie graph, right? On that pie graph, you also have every little section. I didn't explain that, but you have all the little sections on there that you can hover your mouse over, and it shows you how much money spent for all these things. Also, the graph below that is now new miners, right? And you can adjust these graphs to months, days, weeks, whatever you want. But if you've been watching and following along now for a little while, that new miner graph gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like we set a record this week where we did 865 people onboarded in one single day. 865. The day before that, we did 676. The day after that, we did 771. So that is amazing growth, right? And when you show that with people that you're talking to this about, and you can show them, well, look, there's 600, 700, 800 people a day coming into this project. Why wouldn't you, right? Why wouldn't you do this? There's so many people doing this. And again, every single person on the rocket ship is extremely happy, right? There's a lot of people that's been in this for 6, 7, 8, 10 months, 12 months. There's a lot of people that's getting into this that's been in, for 30 days or 60 days. And it doesn't matter where they're at in their TEXITcoin journey. Everybody's extremely happy with this project and extremely happy with what we're doing, right? Because everything is working according to plan. We're hitting our goals, right? We're doing more and more and more. The growth is amazing, right? And people don't want to miss out on that. You want to put as much FOMO into somebody when you're talking about TEXITcoin to them, to really get them to do something, right? To really get them to pull out their money and put their cash in and join us on the rocket ship, because they don't want to miss out, right? We call it FOMO. And FOMO is the best emotional thing that you can tie this to, because again, if you didn't get in early, right? If you didn't get in super, super early, like last year, beginning of this year, and you were told about it, and now you've waited 3, 4, 5 months, those people now are jumping in without asking questions because they've been watching this for a few months, right? They've been watching it for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And now the FOMO is kicking in to where people are reaching out to me constantly, almost on a daily basis, just saying, okay, I've been watching this. Now I'm ready to go. Right. And that's kind of one of the most important things when you're out there sharing this with people. You do need to do some follow up here and there. But if these people are your close friends, family members, I know you don't want to bother them, but it's pretty casual to be able to just send a picture of our price chart every time we get a price jump, right? That works extremely well with getting that conversation going again. And I've had a lot of people been doing that, and I do that as well. Pretty much every time I see that we have a nice little jump in our price, I send that picture, that coin market cap chart out there to everybody, or that chart off DexTrade, and just to see who bites, right? Just to see, send that out to the people that I've already told about this, weeks ago, months ago, or what have you, and just to see what kind of interest I can drum up just from them seeing that price chart. Most people that I've talked to about this actually pay attention to that price every day or every week, and they watch it after I tell them about the opportunity with TEXITcoin. And so then when I follow up with them and I show them we get a price hike, it makes that sale go down very, very easy at that point. You're never going to sell 100% of the people. You're not going to sell everybody that you talk to out there the first time. And so if you want to have big success, the big success is coming from the follow up, right? You're out there, you try to talk to as many people as you possibly can, every single day, and then you have to follow up with those people as well, But you have to give them some time. You have to give them some time to research it sometimes, send them videos, whatever they want. But most people are never going to reach back out to you, right? Until you get into a situation, where you've told enough people and you have enough people hearing about TEXITcoin constantly that then they finally give up and they go, okay, I don't want to miss out on this. So-and-so is doing it. These people are doing it. Everybody else is doing it. I might as well do it. If you can build that into your community where you have that many people talking about it, that's where you have big success. And that's where I'm at now. That's why you guys see my numbers going up on the leaderboard so much. It's because I have so many people just reaching out to me now, just ready to get in, because I've spent so much time talking about it. I've spent so much, I've been telling so many people about TEXITcoin. I've tried to find new people every single day, which is tough to do, but if you work at it, you can do it, right? So just so you know, anonymous attendee, that data, that's pretty much all the data I go over. Is I go over the hash power chart and I go over the money chart. And that's really the two most important, and then the revenue commissions, right? The revenue and commissions chart, you can show every single week the growth of what we've been doing, how we have record-breaking week after record-breaking week, and then you can show how much we're paying in commissions and explain that our comp plan is completely healthy. Our organization is completely healthy. We have so much excess in our budget that there's really nothing that's ever going to stop us. And Bobby talks about that all the time, right? He talks about how, any of these things, any of these problems that we have, anything that comes up that's a setback, or anything like that, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We're going to hit our goals. We're going to sell our seats. Everything is going to happen, and we don't have anything to worry about. Steven says, sorry, I came in late. I heard you say 30 days for Mansfield to come in line, but what's Victoria looking like? Missed that if I said it. So yeah, so Victoria should be up and going any day. We're literally just waiting on the power company to get the work done, so that way we can turn the switch on, and then that mine site's running. Mansfield, should be coming along super soon. We have 2 containers sitting at the port right now that we just have to pick up and get to our locations. One's going to Mansfield, one's going to Houston. Mansfield, that was an old Bitcoin mining operation, so they already have the work done. There's already 2.5 megawatts of power there. And so all we have to do is get everything set, get the machines put in, the L9s dropped in, hook everything up, and we should be good to go. And again, I think we'll get an update on that tomorrow night, Tuesday night call. And, it shouldn't take long to get Mansfield, but, I don't know exactly the time frame for that. I'm just guesstimating, 30, 40 days. We should have that thing up and going, but I bet we're going to hear more about that tomorrow on the Tuesday night call. So That's the thing, guys, is like if you follow along, you pay attention to the Tuesday night calls, they're all recorded. You can always go back and listen to them. That's what's going to answer a lot of questions for you. You know, just paying attention and following along is going to help you, you know, explain everything that's going on with TEXITcoin to all the people out there, because you're going to have that, you know, week to week information on what we're doing now, what the updates are, and everything like that. So then now you can relay that to the people that you're talking to. And so it's very important to follow along those Tuesday night calls. I think everybody should. And again, they're recorded. You can always go back and listen to them when you have time as well. Joanne says, is the mine that we're building going to be its own network like Ethereum? Yeah, so the mine that we're building is we're building out the TEXITcoin blockchain, right? That network. So yeah, so all the 35 mine sites that we're going to have, all the in-home miners, you know, that is all running and validating the TEXITcoin blockchain. And so TEXITcoin's blockchain is its own network, right? We're not a fork off of Litecoin. We are a clone, which means, you know, we've copied their thing, but we're actually running on its own network. We're not tied to it, or we're not built on top of it or anything like that. So yes, we are our own network. Ryan says, side note, how do I go about getting my Doge miner? You should probably email help@minetxe.com. I don't actually handle any of that side of stuff, so I'm really not 100% sure. But I would just send an email into the help@minetxe. As long as you have enough hash power and you're qualified, you know, you should be able to get one, and you live in Texas. The biggest thing is, Ryan, if you don't live in Texas, you're not getting one. Okay. Sean says, can you explain the rewards for Supernova comp plan? Okay. So we get a lot of questions about Supernova. Supernova means, guys, when you have 9 and 9, you max out the comp plan, and commissions run at 7 p.m. You are, again, just based on your organization and your team, everybody that's taken hash power upgrades, your right and your left side is 9 and 9 again before a new sale is entered into the system. Okay, so what that means is you've maxed out the comp plan, commissions run, your 9 and 9, commissions run at Saturday at 7 p.m., and your 9 and 9 again, just based on your people getting commissions and taking that in hash power, right? If they take it in hash power upgrades, that goes in as a new sale, and those points work their way up. And so if you are 9 and 9, if you maxed out the comp plan, as soon as commissions run on Saturday night, and before a new sale, a new miner is entered into the system, you've already maxed out the comp plan, that is going Supernova, right? So Supernova is, it's hard to do. It takes a lot of work. That is an incentive built for team builders, right? Because if you're building out your team and you're helping your team earn commissions, and then they're taking that in hash power, you know, that's where you're going to get those points that roll up that max you out again before a new sale is entered on Sunday, right, or Saturday night. So as soon as commissions run, you've already maxed out the comp plan for the very next week, right? That's what's going Supernova means. And so it's kind of confusing to see, because when commissions run, everything goes to zero. So you really don't know, you know, how many points are coming up, moving up, and everything to you. Now Bobby's made it to where when you do go Supernova, your points reset again at zero. And so it's kind of confusing to know if you've went Supernova or not. And so I kind of mentioned that to him. I don't know if that's something that's going to be changed back or not, but Supernova's tough, right? We have people that's hit Supernova, and then, you know, a week or two later they don't hit Supernova, right? They've slacked off, you know, or they didn't produce, they didn't have people in their organization hitting commissions, and stuff like that. So you can fall out of Supernova too. Just because you get it once or twice doesn't mean you're going to continue to get it forever. You can actually fall out of the Supernova category if your team's not hitting commissions regularly. And so that Supernova, it's something to strive for, because if you're getting that Supernova bonus, that means you built out a good organization, you built out a large organization, and you're helping them receive and get commissions, right? Which is the whole point of, that's a big deal. That's a big part of being a part of TEXITcoin, since we're a community driven project. But also that's going to kind of be a big point if you're trying to be a Texit Ranger, right? Texit Rangers, we don't have anything written out there published that says these are the requirements to be a Texit Ranger. But if you're going supernova, that's a pretty good indication that you brought on a bunch of people, and then you're helping those people grow, right? The biggest thing that Bobby always tells us is he wants us to get the most out of TEXITcoin, right? That's the whole point with this commission and everything, right? He wants us to be taking that home. And so if you're helping your team hit commissions, and they're building and growing as well, then that's how you hit supernova, right? That's for the team builders out there. Melody says, what videos do you share with new prospects? So honestly, I know a lot of guys out there that send the 7-minute video of Bobby breaking down TEXITcoin in 7 minutes. That's a very good video. Me personally, I don't like doing videos. I don't like sending people a website. I don't like sending people information. I like talking to people. My strength is when I'm in front of somebody or I have somebody on the phone and I can talk and explain and break everything down. I was on a call yesterday morning. Somebody had a prospect who's a big crypto guy, had tons of crypto questions about TEXITcoin. And, at the end of the call, he goes, well, yeah, he goes, I like it. I'm really interested. I'm going to look into it more, right? I'm going to do some more research. And I go, well, let me ask you, I have more knowledge about this than anybody else on the internet. You're going to read something about. So what concerns do you have? If you were to put your $9,000 in right now, what concerns do you have? And so he flat out told me, he goes, well, I just want to know about this, this, and this. And so we were at the end of the call after I just explained everything to him. And he said he wanted to do more research. And so let me back up here. And so, it's those types of questions. It's the bold questions at the end that are going to pull out those final objections, right? He had some concerns with the cold storage wallets, or how does that work, right? How does the wallets work? So instead of letting him go online and try to Google and research and find out what you have to do to once you sign up for TEXITcoin, I was able to explain that to him, and it made more sense to him, right? And then he had some questions about where the money was going and stuff like that. So I had to pull up had to send him over the pie graph chart, break it all down, and explain to him what all of our money is going to, right? The money goes, 50% is there to pay commissions, 20% is for marketing and promotion, and then 10% is to build the mine, right? And so, when I broke all that down to him, I answered all of his questions, but then I also took care of all of his concerns. And he then signed up with us shortly after the call. And so that's one thing I would encourage you guys to do. If people are asking for more information, send me videos, let me do my own research. If you're getting that stuff, the last thing you want them to do is go read a bunch of stuff on the internet that's probably false anyway, right? I shared with you guys a few weeks ago, one of the most popular websites that gets sent to me is TEXITcoin Deep Dive Likely Scam. And whoever made that website, all the bullet points that they put in there are just completely false, right? I can tear every single one of those apart, and it's very easy, right? And so whoever made that website really don't understand or know anything about TEXITcoin. They're just an outsider looking in, doing some sort of research online to try to find these answers. And it was just 12 bullet points of their concerns. But if I was able to talk to that person, I'm sure I could sign them up, just because I could handle all those questions and concerns, right? And so when people ask what videos and stuff like that, I have people out there that send the 7-minute video of Bobby breaking down TEXITcoin. I'll give a big shout out to Mike Healy. I think Mike Healy does great with the videos that he makes. I don't think you can go wrong with sharing a lot of those. He's also putting on like a TEXITcoin school pretty soon that he's going to be posting on YouTube. And so all that type of stuff is great. There's a lot of other people out there that make great videos. You have to go out there and find what you like. There's people have put tons of videos in our objections and rebuttals chat, and training resources, to where if you have any questions or if you want to find some videos, reach out in Telegram. So there's tons of people out there making great videos to send to prospects. Right. Anonymous attendee. Will we see a jump in mine coins once the Victoria mine comes online? Probably not. Our mine, we output on average 95,000 coins a day. As we build out our entire mining system, Victoria is one location, 3.3 million mega hash. It's not going to jump up the amount of coins produced each day. Even if we have all 100 million mega hash installed, there's no guarantee that our output per coins per day is going to go up any at all. Bobby believes that it will a little bit, because our blockchain's designed to produce 120,000 coins a day. I believe that if we have all 100 million mega hash installed, we might see our average output of coins per day climb to maybe 100,000, maybe a little bit over 100,000 a day. Because we're going to be a lot more efficient. We're going to be able to produce those blocks in a lot shorter standard, a more consistent amount of time, which should raise our output of coins per day a little bit. But I don't ever expect us to put out that output, that 120,000 coins a day ever. I don't think we should ever expect a huge jump in the output of coins per day. But I do think when our mine is built out, we might be able to see a little bit of an increase, maybe go from 95,000 to 100,000 on average or something like that. Ken Cardwell says Shauna was handling the list for miners. So I think you should just send an email in, help@mintxc.com, just to see if you want an in-home miner, if you live in Texas, if you meet the requirements with hash power. Again, you either have to have 700 or 2100 hash power to meet those requirements, and you have to live in Texas. If you do, go ahead and send an email into help@mintxc.com, and I'm sure somebody can get you an answer on that. Dean says, have they figured out the delay on Litecoin and Doge mining yet? Okay, so we haven't hit a Litecoin block in quite a while. Again, our hash power, our operating hash power, our mining output right now is very low. And it's because we don't have these systems online. The new system in Victoria, and we moved the B24 from McKinney to Mansfield. I don't know if that is up and going again or not. But once we start increasing our mega hash, we should start hitting Litecoin blocks again. The Doge rewards, I don't think we've gotten a real answer on when or what we can expect from that. But I think once we get 3 or 4 of these containers plugged in and going, we should be able to raise our mega hash from what it is currently. If we have 4 of those shipping containers fully operational, it's going to add almost 13 million mega hash to our mine. We should start seeing those Litecoin rewards come in again. So also, if everybody that has an in-home miner has those operating and plugged in and working successfully, that's going to only add more hash power to our mining operation, which should help us hit those Litecoin rewards more frequently. So in time, we should start getting those again more. Sean, I understand what Supernova is, but what is the rewards? I know we get 600 hash per 9 left, right? Okay, but there's anything beyond that. Okay, so the 600 hash you're getting for 9 and 9 is just your rapid rewards commission. So the benefit for Supernova right now is currently $3,000 USDC bonus, right? That Supernova bonus only gets paid out in USDC, and that is a 3,000 K bonus as of right now. That's subject to change if Bobby ever wants to change it. But as of right now, it's 3K, and you can see that on your commission tab in your back office. Melody says, great answer. Thank you. Sean says, can you specify for us TXC mining is network marketing or multi-level marketing? Have you heard conflicting answers from different TXC sources? No, because we're not really either, but we're kind of similar to both, right? So we kind of have this, which I don't know the difference between network marketing and multi-level marketing. I think they're pretty similar, truthfully. But like, if you ask the network marketing guys or the MLM guys, they'll say that we're not a multi-level marketing or a network marketing company, right? It's different from what they're used to. Um, but it does seem like, because we're bringing people on, it's word of mouth, there's commissions, everything like that. We do have that multi-level marketing or network marketing. I think it's pretty much just different words for it, but it's pretty much the same thing. We do have that aspect to our program, right? Because we're bringing people on and we are earning commissions because of it. And so, can I specify the difference? No, I'm not a network marketer. I've never been a multi-level marketer. Never would have been in those types of systems. I'm kind of like Bobby. You'd never over my dead body. I'd never be in a network marketing situation. But I never knew about that when I signed up. When Bobby told me about this and I put my cash in, I didn't find out that I could sign people up or get rewards or anything like that for 7 or 8 months later. And so, it is what it is. We're kind of similar, but yet we're a lot different because the guy at the bottom and the guy at the top have the same opportunity, right? They can earn the same amount of pay. In most network marketing situations or multi-level marketing situations, less than 1% of the money less than 1% of the people that join those systems ever get their money back. The last time Bobby talked about this, over 17% of the people in TEXITcoin has received their commission or their money back in forms of commissions, right? And so we're a little bit similar, but we're quite a bit different as well, because of the way that he's got this built, right? The same person at the top, and the same person at the bottom can make the same amount, right? And that's an even level, fair playing field. Arthur says, my downline isn't able to scan his coin into the TXE app. He's able to put it on his blockchain app. Maybe try deleting the app and re-downloading it. I know people have had some situations like that. If you are able to delete it, clear out all the data and re-download that and then try it again, that may work for you. Other than that, you might have to reach out to help at MineTXE. Anonymous attendee, why do the 100 TEXITcoins get paid for the September promo? Probably after September. It's going to probably be 1st of October after he gets the report, and he can start getting those paid. Anonymous attendee, what triggers the increase and decrease to cryptocurrency? I'm new at this. Supply and demand. Just like anything else, supply and demand is behind the value of almost everything in our world, whether it's a stock, commodity, anything. So as the demand increases, our price increases, right? Buyers and sellers in simple terms. If there's more sellers than buyers, the price goes down. If there's more buyers than sellers, the price goes up. Right now with TEXITcoin, we have more buyers than sellers. That's why our price continues to increase. There's not enough sellers out there, Bobby says. I like the price going up. It's very, very fun. But yeah, so supply and demand is what ultimately makes everything go up and down. And so there's other factors to it, what creates supply and demand, what creates more buyers and sellers. So I don't know if you're talking about just with TEXITcoin or crypto in general, because those are two different answers. With TEXITcoin right now, people are buying up coins because it's speculation, right? They're speculating that our price or our value is going to be higher in the future than what they're going to be buying those coins at today. And so if the market feels like the price of TEXITcoin will be higher in the future, we're going to have more buyers and sellers. If the market feels like we're not going to be able to follow through and we're not going to have a higher price in the future, right? And our project's not worthy of higher pricing, then we're going to have more sellers than buyers and our price is going to get down. And so the answer to that is supply and demand, buyers and sellers. What side of the coin is got more of those, right? And so I'm hoping with our Trade with All Summit, I think as we do our introduction to Asia over here, I'm hoping over the next 30 to 60 days we see a lot more demand and a lot more activity on our market to where our price of our coin keeps rising, keeps going up. Tammy says a miner in my upline has his TEXITcoin wallet in sats. What does that mean? He just needs to click that button. He can turn it to cash. He can turn it back to TXC. Sats is Satoshis. It's what all cryptocurrencies are kind of based on. That's kind of the smallest amount. And then however many Sats that is, will tell you how many. If you click that button, it'll tell you how many TXC coins that actually is. If you click it again, it'll tell you how much dollars that is worth. So he just needs to hit that button that's right next to his amount, and that'll change. Raphael says, thank you so much for these calls. Well, thanks, Raphael. Should do a presentation call at least 1 week for everyone to attend and bring guests. Yeah, I'd kind of like that. If there's anybody out there that wants to bring people, I know Bobby said we should do this only for minors, but I mean, if you want to bring some prospects, I would love to get them on here to where people can see me go back and forth and actually see me go through the pitch with them. I think that'd be very beneficial for everybody. So if we want to coordinate that, if we want to line that up, just let me know. I would love that. I would love that if we could do next week, next Monday, we could get on there and have somebody that's interested. You go find somebody interested in TEXITcoin, and then see if they will jump on this call with me. Even if they don't want to do a camera and put their face, do whatever, they can stay off camera, and then we can have that dialect back and forth, and you can actually see how I do my presentation. I think that would be good for everybody. Anytime you can see real world experience, that is the best, right? And so, yeah, so if anybody wants to do that, just let me know. I think we could probably do that, and that would be fine. So, Sean, same with you. You want to bring potential miners, bring them on. Let's do it. Let's get as many people on this call, prospects, and then like give me somebody that'll actually will actually join me here, and to where we can have that back and forth. I can answer those questions, and then everybody can see how I do that. I think that'll be good for everybody. So I think that's a great idea, Raphael. Let's do it. All right, guys, that's all the questions we have. We've been on over an hour here, so if there's anything else, reach out to me in Telegram, send me a message, and we'll try to get those answered for you. If anybody has anybody that's a crypto person or a prospect that has some questions that you can't answer, please reach out to me. Please send me a message on Telegram. Help me help you, right? That's my job. Help me help you. If you have anybody that you just can't get their head wrapped around this or anything like that, you need help, please let me know. I'm here to help you. And yes, Tammy, I'll send that PowerPoint right now. I'll put that in I'll put that in the networking and sales chat. I'll also drop it in the objections and rebuttals chat in Telegram. So Ryan wants to know where we're posting the recording to this. I usually try to have Bobby do it in the networking and sales chat. So I'll try to get him to do that, and then I'll copy and paste it over to the other ones as well. That way everybody can see that. So thanks, guys. It's another good call. We'll do this again next week. Again, if you need anything, if you need help from me, reach out to me, send me a message, let me help you. All right. Thanks, guys.